to Cleveland. $230 million.
There's no quarterback in the NFL that is a flat-out better player than Deshaun Watson.
22 cases civilly that he still has against
this
him.
vetting process, I don't believe.
Well, I think we need more answers.
Wonder if they ask their female staff or employees how they feel about it.
If you have these candid conversations, how about you tell us what they're worth?
Good morning. Welcome into First Take. Thank you so much for being with us. Tim Hasselbeck is here. Always good to see you, sir. Stephen A. Smith, Kimberly Martin. I'm Molly. And normally I would joke about you being in your brother's seat, but I'm business mode today. So shall we get right into it?
Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. The controversial blockbuster trade. The Cleveland Browns have acquired Watson in a trade with the Houston Texans for 3 first-round picks, as well as a 3rd, 4th, and 5th-round pick. The Browns are set to give Watson a new 5-year, $230 million contract. This is a $48 million raise over what he was scheduled to make under his current contract. The full $230 million is guaranteed, sources says, setting a record for highest guarantee given to an NFL player. Keep in mind, Watson still faces 22 civil lawsuits alleging sexual misconduct and sexual assault. The Browns also protected Watson, even if he faces punishment by the NFL this season for his alleged behavior, because his base salary for 2022 is just over $1 million. Any per-game suspension can only be deducted from that amount, leaving at least $229 million untouched. Here's a statement from the Browns organization, Dee and Jimmy Haslam. We spent a tremendous amount of time exploring and investigating the opportunity to trade for Deshaun Watson. We are acutely aware and empathetic to the highly personal sentiments expressed about this decision. Our team's comprehensive evaluation process was of utmost importance due to the sensitive nature of his situation and complex factors involved. We also understand there are still some legal proceedings that are ongoing, and we will respect due process. We are confident in Deshaun and excited about moving forward with him as our quarterback and supporting his genuine and determined efforts. The attorney for the 22 women, Tony Busby, says not a single NFL team has reached out to him or the women. That would include the Browns. He said yesterday, in part, the Browns organization did not reach out to me. I didn't expect them to do so and can understand why they didn't, but knowing what I know, they probably should have. Okay, there's a lot to tackle here. Kimberly, I'd like to start with you because I know you have a wealth of information. What message are the Browns sending by investing in Watson?
Molly, thank you. The message is that there is nothing an NFL team will not overlook when you are an elite player. That's the bottom line. It's the talent. That's why the Cleveland Browns were willing to give $230 million guaranteed to this man. It's the talent. That is why there were several teams. We can talk about the Browns, but there were several teams long before the grand jury situation was resolved, where we were told, okay, there's not enough evidence for criminal charges to be criminal charges to be pressed. Long before that, there were teams that knew they wanted Deshaun Watson. There were teams so desperate, so QB needy, that they said, you know what? These 22 allegations, these 22 lawsuits, okay, we can look past that because of the talent. And I think, I tweeted over the weekend, there's reality and then there's NFL reality. And we can like it, we could hate it, it's what it is. It's the fact that despite these 2 civil lawsuits that still remain unresolved, teams are willing to give up this kind of money. But the money doesn't even matter to me. It's a lot. Trust me, it is wild, right? But it is the idea that not just the Browns, the Saints, the Falcons, the Carolina Panthers, the Eagles, the Seahawks. There were teams throughout this league that did not see these civil suits as an impediment. Because at the end of the day, all we care about is winning. When you don't have a quarterback, you will do whatever it takes to get one. And you look at Cleveland, which is a franchise that feels like we have, for so long, has been looking for the answer at quarterback. And it's the talent that made them say, you know what, Baker's not the answer. But this guy, we'll do enough due diligence. We will hire independent investigators to give us information on these plaintiffs, our team counsel will advise teams not to reach out to the lawyer of these women because you don't know if it could be misconstrued as you're impeding a criminal investigation. You don't know if Tony Busby would then hold a press conference and mention all the different teams that we now know were interested in Deshaun Watson. But that, to me, that's not enough. There were women who did not sue. Did any of these teams, forget just the Browns, did any of these teams reach out to those women? At the end of the day, what I go back to is there's no floor. There's no floor. Because all that matters in the NFL is winning, and that's what we have to wrap our minds around. We want the NFL to be a moral high ground. We want the NFL to reflect what we want to see in society. It is not that. It is a business. These billionaires, there's stuff that they will do things that regular people will not. That's why they're billionaires. That's the whole point. That, like, there's a shrewd business, that's how you get to where you are. You have to be willing to do things that other people will not. This is a business at the end of the day. It's about selling seats. It's about trying to move on and having a quarterback that can win you Super Bowls.
Tim, I want you to get involved here, but to me, it feels a bit like saving face and confirmation bias here.
Well, here's what I'd say. I think Kimberly's exactly right. We're going to focus so much on Cleveland because, Cleveland did the deal. But the reality is that the reason that he got the money that he got, the reason he got the new deal, is because there was competition for him. We can be you can be critical of Cleveland for doing it, but Cleveland was playing the same game as probably a quarter of the league was playing. So, I think when you look at it in that regard, and then think about this, he had a market value contract. He signed a new contract not long ago. He wasn't underpaid. They decided to tear that up and give him $80 million more guaranteed than has ever been given to anybody before. They changed the quarterback market. Remember when we talk about Dak Prescott, changing the quarterback? And Dak Prescott was he was a great player on the field, perfect guy off the field, awesome leader in your locker room, all of that stuff. Yeah. And he really didn't change the quarterback market. Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns changed the quarterback market. And then I think why the money does matter is that because of how it's structured, it also insulates you from
punishment.
The pain of the punishment other than not playing. Just because of the way that the bonus is structured in year one, the salary is roughly $1 million. So you could lose $60,000 a game. Well, $60,000 a game for a guy that, is guaranteed $230 million. Listen, if it's 4 games, 6 games, 8 games, 10 games, that takes the sting out of it. So, I don't think that there's a hard message to decipher here from the Browns or the other teams that were interested. It's that talent wins out. And the other aspect of it is this, and let's just be real. A lot of people have I guess, in some ways, we've seen it happen. So whether it's Tyreek Hill and his history, whether it's Joe Mixon and his history, whether it was Ben Roethlisberger, or it does it
Kareem
Hunt. The reality is, if a guy goes in and plays well, the team has success, everybody kind of just moves on. That's just.
But let me just ask you quickly before we get Stephen A. in here. Obviously, as a husband, as a father, as a former quarterback, does it sit right with you when we talk about $230 million guaranteed, even if you face punishment? When you're facing 22 allegations against sexual misconduct.
I thought the teams would be, and I knew that teams were interested in him.
Of course, yeah.
I did not think that he was going to get a new contract. How does it sit? It certainly, it doesn't feel, I don't know how you can feel good. Look, there's a saying in the NFL, be who you can afford to be. And so, look, if you're an undrafted free agent and they need you to carry water out to practice, you carry water out to practice. You can be who you can afford to be.
This is First Take. So what we're going to do here
is we're going to stop, not to say anybody did that this morning, but we're going to stop with a lot of the BS angles that a lot of people take when it comes to something like this. Let's get one thing straight. The man has 22 civil cases against him. That is not a good look. You have people out there that are justifiably absolutely disgusted at the fact that this man would be in a position to get this money. That's one angle. Here's the other angle. There are people who want to come to his defense reminding us that, A, there were no criminal charges brought against him. Those criminal charges were dropped. And B, he claims he's innocent. Because you got people in his camp, and I know because I spoke to them since the deal went down, where they're like, he's innocent. He's innocent. Now, when you say one or two, yeah, that's bad enough. When you got 22 cases against you, damn it, where there's smoke, there's fire. The term that I use, Tim, is that if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it ain't a damn mongoose. Something's up. Something's up. We got that part. But we're not the law. And as a result, we're not in a position to definitively say whether he's guilty or innocent. All we can say is that this looks very, very bad, and we're certainly not going to just shove aside the accusations and allegations that have been levied against him. We'd love to hear from him. We'd love to see what he has to say to explain why you found yourself in a position where 22 cases have been handed against you. Now we get to the NFL. Because what happens is we live in a society today where whatever the legal system can't do, we feel compelled to make sure we do. I'm talking about in terms of the NFL, the league itself, the media, society, et cetera, et cetera. Well, let's get to that. Let's get to the NFL. If you're the Cleveland Browns, one could easily argue, what are you supposed to do? You haven't won a championship since 1964. Jim Brown was playing for the Cleveland Browns last time they won a championship. I wasn't born, and I'm 54. I wasn't even born the last time. There's a city that's starving for a winner that has lamented the fact that they have been losing. And they're looking from the days of Bernie Kosar to the days of Baker Mayfield, and they're saying, yo, we got a stud. We got somebody that can compete against Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson and Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. We got a brother right here that can win us a Super Bowl. And last time we checked, this city has been literally in a state of depression, spanning decades because they knew they didn't have a snowball's chance in hell of winning anything. So we got to compete. Philadelphia wanted him. Atlanta wanted him. New Orleans wanted him. The list goes on and on. And what this dude said, according to his, if you listen to his side, they're sitting up there leaking information. There's an innocence here. Excuse me. That's why the NFL hasn't done anything yet. And you better believe that the teams checked with the NFL to kind of gauge what kind of punishment is coming down the pike. Because we got all of these teams that's interested in him. There's no way that they're interested in him right now. If they've heard the news, don't expect him to play next season. He ain't coming. There is no doubt in my mind that many teams, because I heard it was as many as 13 teams, guys. 13 teams. Sure. You only heard the finalists. I heard 13 teams was interested in Deshaun Watson. So if 13 teams are interested in him, nobody called the league office and said, hey, what kind of punishment is coming down the pike for this brother? They took Ben Roethlisberger into consideration. Just an allegation. He got 6 games. It was ultimately reduced to 4. Michael Vick, he was incarcerated, so the legal system took care of him. And then you got other situations where cases have been settled. As a result, they come back. They get a few games, but ultimately, that's what it's going to come down to. So now you get to the National Football League office, and you say, what standard should they have? Especially when somebody like Calvin Ridley has been suspended for the entire year for just betting $1,500. Well, the NFL's response is, from what I've been told, in terms of their thinking, well, there's proof there that that guy was guilty of compromising the integrity of the game because you bet on the game, whether directly or indirectly. Whereas in these cases, well, he says one thing, they said another. The legal system isn't throwing him in jail, and as a result, he's he's available for his services. This is the stance that they take. So, again, it looks bad. There is no question about that. But before we look at the Cleveland Browns, you got to blame you have to blame 12 other teams, and you're going to have to blame the league. And it comes down to, what do we think is should be a definitive punishment for this situation? Because a lot of times people look at the NFL and say, Molly, I'm coming to you.
Yeah.
They're going to say, they'll look at the league and they'll say, make a decision. What should happen? And what I want to know is, from the Mollys of the world, from the Kimberlys of the world, Mary Kay Cabot, from Cleveland Plain Dealer, she's coming on the show, from Nancy Amore in the USA Today. What I want to know is, based on this situation right here, it's no longer a criminal case, it's a civil case. What exactly do you think should happen to Deshaun Watson?
Well, there's a lot of things I want to get into.
Sure.
So as far as the civil aspect, right? So we don't know whether he's won or lost any of those cases. So there's still a lot of information that we don't have. But when you talk about the rule, like Calvin Ridley with the betting on games, that was a full season. And then when we're talking about, I have an issue with the rule to begin with, because domestic abuse, child abuse, sexual assault, it's 6 games. Tom Brady got 4 games for deflated footballs.
Yes.
So you can abuse a child, you can abuse a woman, and you get 2 more games. So that's a problem in itself that the NFL needs to address. Then we're talking about this particular situation. I want to go back to the Browns organization, okay? So let's deem Deshaun Watson, is innocent. They don't know this yet. So they said that they did their due diligence in terms of an investigation. Well, you didn't speak to the lawyer and you didn't speak to any of the women. So could we have some transparency on how you got here? How did you vet this situation? How about you share that with the public? Because based on their independent investigation, how do we know there wasn't just a confirmation bias to make it work so they could get Deshaun Watson?
My challenge to that last assertion you just made is that anytime there's a legal matter that comes up, every client is advised to shut the hell up. It don't matter what it is. I don't know. Listen, I've had issues, and I ain't never been in trouble with the law. No. What I'm saying is when you say, in other words, when you say they didn't talk with the lawyer, they investigated. Well, here's what they investigated. Is he going to play?
Right.
Is he going to be allowed to play?
They didn't talk to the women. There's 22 women.
I understand that. No, we know that.
Yeah.
That's what we're saying. What we're saying is the NFL, let's call it what it is. Those individual teams don't care. What they care about is, can he play?
Well, when are they going to start caring about women? Because 42% of the fan base is female.
Well, and listen, nearly every ad that you see during a game, is promoting, the football is family. And you talk about advancements of women in coaching, women in the front office. That's speaking with a forked tongue. There's no doubt about it. The thing I would say, and I think this is your point, Stephen, the teams, because of what you said about the history of the organization and trying to win, they're going to look around at the other 32 teams that are trying to do the same thing. The group that needs to be above that is the league office.
Right.
Because the teams are always going to have that temptation to, all right, let's not worry about this guy's off the field situation because he's a great player and he's going to help us win. But the league office, I don't know why it's taken so long for them. Because I think teams in some way, the teams themselves have a different goal than the league office. Listen, the league can do with it. You can move a player out of the league and survive. You're fine.
Yeah.
An individual player means a lot more to a specific team. The league office, think about how long this has been.
Right. But let me say this before Kimberly chimes back in. To answer your question, Molly, when the bottom line is affected, the fact of the matter is we just finished watching the NFL brag about record ratings. We see everybody clamoring for their product. When Colin Kaepernick put himself in a position that he was in, why did the league come across as remotely capitulating? Because we found out their bottom line was affected. We found out that the owners believed, and they had deduced that the Colin Kaepernick situation cost them 15 to 20% of their money.
But you think that Deshaun Watson affects their bottom line if they punish him?
Do I think? No. I was talking about her question in terms of she was asking, why doesn't the league? I want you ask the question directly.
I asked a bunch of questions.
Exactly.
There's a lot
I'm just talking about in terms of what the league's position may be or whatever. I'm saying when you want real change to take place, You got to affect their bottom line. Whatever way because they have shown you if their bottom line doesn't get affected, neither does change. They've shown you that.
But what I'm saying about that is you can argue that Deshaun Watson helps the bottom line for Cleveland. They win more games.
For Cleveland.
Right. Like it's an improvement for them. From the league's perspective, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
That is why there's confusion over
it's a terrible
what
look.
is taking you so long.
Yeah.
Why haven't you, why haven't you handed down a punishment? Why have you been silent? Why haven't you talked about, the investigation that you have done?
Exactly.
Kimberly?
So there's a lot to unpack here, as you guys are showing. Molly asked the question, when is the league going to care about women? My favorite quote is Maya Angelou. When people show you who they are the first time, believe them. We have seen the league dole out different punishments for different, crimes, issues, Deflategate. There's everything. It just seems... there's no rhyme or reason, it seems like sometimes with the NFL as it doles out punishment. And the league cares about women when it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. It cares about the female coach or the women coaches on staffs. But when it comes to a situation like this, Deshaun Watson he helps and he hurts the league, because all these teams that were interested in Deshaun Watson, they made the decision that there's a subsection of our fans who will be angry, but we can live with that. Because if he balls out, those same fans will be coming to fill seats. Because as soon as he wins games, which we expect he will, they will be in the stadium. And these teams making these decisions to go after Deshaun, we're okay with that. And we have to accept that this is... It's not okay. To me, it blows my mind that any team would feel comfortable, man, woman, whatever, that to me, gender irrelevant. Any team would feel good about these unresolved cases, but that's where we are. That's NFL reality.
But the question that I have, Kim, is this, and I don't disagree with a single word that you said. I'm just trying to get to the bottom because I think it's incredibly important, particularly with issues involving women, domestic violence, sexual assault, things of this nature. Y'all voices are incredibly, incredibly profound as it pertains to what punishment should come down the pike. I really, really feel that way. And so when I'm thinking about the National Football League, right, here's my issue. Here's my question to y'all. At some point in time, again, what do you think should happen? Because we're talking business ethics and we're talking about the NFL lacking it, but we're also talking about a female audience out there that is profound. They're incredibly potent. You can affect the bottom line. And so if the NFL is sitting back and they're saying the legal system has made its decision, as a result, we can't prohibit him from playing in this league in our estimation. Well, what do you do about that? Come with a definitive answer.
To me, it's still premature because we don't. There's 22 lawsuits. There's 22 civil suits. I don't know whether he's won or lost. That's why I think it's premature by the Cleveland Browns to give this man the most guaranteed money ever, $230 million.
Fair enough.
So we don't have those answers. So let me just say that. So first of all, I already think the rule is egregious in terms of 6 games for abusing children, women, sexual assault, domestic violence. All right, that rule needs to be changed. That's a minimum of 1 season. So Deshaun Watson, if all these 22 women lied on him and he wins every civil case, right? All 22 of them, go for it, break the bank. But that's not where we are right now, and we need more information. We need more information also from the Browns on how they got here, how the NFL got here to make this decision. To answer your question, Stephen A., and I understand it's a direct question, I just wanted to make those points, but as far as Deshaun Watson in terms of punishment, if he's losing these cases, he should not be playing this entire season. Maybe 2 seasons.
Okay, but no.
And that's why they gave him. That's why he only loses $1 million, Stephen A. Because they know punishment might come down. $1 million when you're about to get 220.
No.
That's a slap in the face to all women everywhere. I just need to say something. If he is guilty, Stephen A. Right? If he loses these cases, he's going to lose. They protected him, so he gets all his money.
But I'm still asking the question.
I told you a season or 2.
Because we don't know. In other words, from a civil perspective, what's going to happen? Are you advocating that Deshaun Watson not be allowed to play until the civil cases are resolved?
Absolutely.
That's what I'm asking. Okay, Kimberly.
Unless they want to give us full transparency on what happened.
But I'm saying
given us none.
that's what I'm asking, because a lot of people are looking at it. And Kimberly, I need the same question. I got the same question to you. Are you of the mindset that without the 22 civil cases having been resolved, criminally we know what the decision they've made. Civilly, he's still got the 22 cases against him. Are you of the mindset that Deshaun Watson should not be allowed to play this season?
The NFLPA would get involved. Like, that's the other piece of this, you know, that the NFLPA will protect its players, because as it stands now, no criminal charges are going to be brought against him. So it's his word, their word, and we still don't know. The truth is in the middle, we assume. So it's very difficult for me to say he should never step on a field, because these situations these civil lawsuits haven't been resolved. And you know the NFLPA is going to have his back. The NFLPA is going to ensure that we don't just, because there are guys who are wrongly accused. You're not supposed to use the word accused, but there are guys that charges are brought against that are not valid. It's a small percentage compared to the women who are right, but there are no criminal charges being pressed against Deshaun Watson. And that doesn't mean he's innocent, that doesn't mean he's guilty, but it's very difficult right now to say what the punishment should be. That's why the NFL teams went out and said, you know what, if we're going to go after him, we're going to assume it's going to be 8 or 6 games. We're going to work off of that, and we're going to work backwards.
Let me just say one more thing, because I absolutely understand also that people can be lied on. That's why I made it very clear in what I said, and whether he wins or loses these 22 civil cases. So I just want to make that clear when I was giving the answer, Stephen.
Right, but that's what I'm saying, and I knew that. I just felt that it was important to get y'all take on, as it stands now, are you saying he shouldn't be allowed to play?
I'm saying as it's...
Here's the thing.
Oh, good. Go ahead, Kimberly.
What bothers me about this is not because I'm a woman. That we all should be men, women, whatever. We should be able to look at this and feel how we feel. It's not because I'm a woman that I should be talking about what I think Deshaun Watson's punishment is. That shouldn't be on the women. It shouldn't be on the women to be the moral high ground of anything.
As a man, let me be very, very clear. If he's guilty of this stuff, his ass should be thrown in jail. Period. That's where I'm at now. But if he's not guilty of it, then he should be allowed to play. And since we're caught in the middle, because the legal case against him has been dropped, but the civil cases still exist, which means there could be an attachment of guilt or complete exoneration, we don't know what the hell to do. And as a result of that, what position do you take? Should he play or should he not? And that's where the quandary comes in, because you could say, hey, he shouldn't be allowed to play. Hell with that. But the flip side to it is that if they come out and you find out that he was innocent and lied on, then damn. Now, if he's allowed to play, but you find out he was guilty, well, damn too. Where we at?
Well, and there's an element of the league getting involved where they essentially say, look, like, we're going to put you on the commissioner's exempt list. Like, this is what we're going to do. And you're not going to be able to play until you resolve these issues. And so, like, there is a role the league can play.
Yeah.
And
so they have used the commissioner's exempt list before.
Yeah, they have.
Yes, they have.
And so by doing that, you're kind of forcing the player's hand. And I'm not saying that that's always going to be right either, but it is a tool to say, hey, we're not going to be dragging this on for years because, you know, we're just letting this play out and every motion filed, and now, you know, the criminal, you know, thing is gone, and now we have the civil cases. Like, you know, there's a way to say, all right, if you want to play football, if you want to get a new contract, you want all these things, like, we got to resolve this first, because otherwise we're going to put you on the commissioner exempt list. I think they did it with Adrian Peterson, you know, with his situation. So, like, there is a role to be played without having it be what you're saying, Stephen A., which is, hey, you're good to play, or hey, you're suspended for the year. Like, there is somewhere in between to help move it along.
If it's about money, if it's about him wanting to play, then that's different. It comes back to what I was talking about.
Yeah, and in terms of the PA, I would just say this in terms of the PA. We've seen the PA at times, and we saw it with Ray Rice. Like, there's an element. They are going to fight for their membership. There's no question about it. That's what they're there to do.
Right.
But they have not treated every situation the exact same. And there have been situations that they have taken a step back from because it is not representative
Yes.
of the entire
Yeah.
membership.
That's true.
Absolutely.
That's totally true.
All I have to say is this. I was watching a lot of coverage on this story over the past week, and I was out Thursday, Friday at an event. But one thing I'm so grateful for the show is that we do have these real conversations, because it's uncomfortable to watch when it's just a conversation and they're only discussing the on the field and the money and not the entire picture. So I appreciate all of you. We'll keep it moving here on First Take. Still ahead from college, blockbuster trade. The Cleveland Browns have acquired Deshaun Watson in a trade with the Houston Texans for 3 first-round picks, as well as a 3rd, 4th, and 5th-round pick. The Browns are set to give Watson a new 5-year, $230 million contract. This is a $48 million raise over what he was scheduled to make under his current contract. The full $230 million is guaranteed, sources said, setting a record for highest guaranteed amount given to any NFL player. Now, keep in mind, Watson still faces 22 civil lawsuits alleging sexual misconduct and sexual assault. The Browns also protected Watson, even if he faces punishment by the NFL this season for his alleged behavior, because his base salary for 2022 is just over $1 million. Any per-game suspension can only be deducted from that amount, leaving at least $229 million untouched. Here's a statement from the Browns organization, Dee and Jimmy Haslam. You see it on your screen there. We spent a tremendous amount of time exploring and investigating the opportunity to trade for Deshaun Watson. We are acutely aware and empathetic to the highly personal sentiments expressed in this decision. Our team's comprehensive evaluation process was of utmost importance due to the sensitive nature of his situation and the complex factors involved. We also understand there are still some legal proceedings that are ongoing, and we will respect due process. We are confident in Deshaun and excited about moving forward with him as our quarterback and supporting his genuine and determined efforts. Now, the attorney for the 22 women, Tony Busby, says not a single NFL team has reached out to him or the women. That would include the Browns. He said in part yesterday, the Browns organization did not reach out to me. I didn't expect them to do so and can understand why they didn't. But knowing what I know, they probably should have. On that note, we welcome in Marcus Spears and Mary Kay Cabot, who covers the Browns for Cleveland.com and the Plain Dealer. Mary Kay, thank you so much for being with us this morning. Marcus as well. And Mary Kay, I want to start with you. How is Watson being received by the Cleveland fan base?
Well, I think there's a mixed reaction. This is a very polarizing move. I think half of the fan base is probably excited about the football side of it. And then you've got half of the fan base that is very upset about how the Cleveland Browns could bring someone onto the team with this much controversy.
Mary, I appreciate you being on the show. Thank you so much. So when you take that into consideration, I mean, as we look at the Cleveland situation right now, is it more about the organization or is it more about the NFL in the eyes of fans in Cleveland?
I think it's more about the organization. I think that, the fans in Cleveland are going to want answers. They're going to want an explanation. Why should they feel comfortable with this? I think they're going to want to know what happened in this extensive investigation they did into Deshaun. Why should they feel comfortable moving forward that he will be a productive member of society and a productive member of this football team, and why they shouldn't have to worry anymore about these type of accusations?
Mary Kay, have you received any information in the team's statement saying their comprehensive evaluation process, and then from the lawyer, we know they didn't speak to Tony Busby, they didn't speak to any of the women. Has there been any clarity on how they went about this investigation?
No, not yet. We haven't really had a press conference yet. We haven't had an opportunity to talk to Andrew Berry, Kevin Stefanski, or the Haslams yet. Those things should be happening as the next week unfolds, and looking forward to digging into some of that stuff. But of course, with 22 civil suits pending, I know people will be very limited in what they can say, and I don't know that we'll be able to get too many details out of what they did in their investigation. But I know that this is an organization that was committed to thoroughly vetting him. I know that they've been working on it for a long time, and I know that they feel very strongly about bringing Deshaun into the fold.
Would love to hear more and more transparency on how they vetted this decision. Looking forward to talking to you in the near future. Mary Kay, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you, Mary.
Really appreciate having you on this morning.
Thank you.
Marcus, the floor is yours. Where are you on this blockbuster controversial deal?
Molly, it's so many layers. What's up, S.A.? Good morning.
What's up, man?
It's so many layers to this story. Obviously, every time we get on television, especially as an analyst covering the NFL, I'm going to have to say on the field and off the field. I'm going to have to say it's pertaining to just strictly football and the things that's transpiring. Here's the bottom line, and y'all know how we do it when all three of us get together. When there were no criminal charges that were going to be pursued, teams were going to go crazy and go after Deshaun Watson. They were going to want to trade for him. They were going to want him to be a franchise-leading quarterback. One, because he's an exceptional talent at playing the position. Two, because those guys sell tickets in your stadium, and they help you win games, which ultimately turns into monetary gain. All right, that's the real of the situation in Cleveland. The other part of it is when you talk about the 22 civil lawsuits that are still pending, I think Mary just made the point. This will never be resolved enough for us to determine how we should feel about it. It can go based on what we've heard from Deshaun Watson's camp, based on what we've heard from the young women, the women that filed these lawsuits. But we won't know. This will be court proceedings. This will be things to where I'm sure it'll be non-disclosures. I'm sure it'll be settlements. It'll be things going on that won't be for public consumption. So you have to determine and base how you feel about Deshaun Watson as an individual, as a fan base, as somebody that's going to watch the Cleveland Browns, how you feel about him being on the team.
Marcus, let me pause you for 1 second here. Let me pause you for 1 second here when you bring that up. Do you think it's premature? Let me ask you this as a former player. Do you think it was premature to give him this blockbuster deal of the most guaranteed money ever? Why these 22 cases are still pending?
No, I don't believe it was premature, Molly, because I'm not living in an alternate reality like the NFL or these teams have done something different over the past. Obviously, everybody will have their mixed emotions about it. Everybody will have their feelings. And trusting the organization or trusting the NFL at face value, we won't know until facts come out. And the problem that we have with the whole optic of facts coming out is that they probably never will. That's the part of this that is so tough to analyze. That's the part that puts analysts like myself and other people talking about this situation in a very precarious situation, trying to figure out how do you go about having this conversation and determining both parts, the football part and also the off the field part. Remember, there are still women involved in this that are watching all of this transpire. So you want to be sensitive to that as well. This is not good when it comes from that standpoint, off the field. This is not good because you have two conflicting sides of a story that nobody knows the truth about. So for us to lament and talk about, well, who is Deshaun Watson as a person? These young women coming forward, they had to have strength to come forward, but they also are looking at all of the things play out publicly as well. I'm not here to try to determine truth. I'm here to talk about what we actually know. And what we know is that there are 22 civil lawsuits still pending. Deshaun Watson has a new contract with the Cleveland Browns. And it is left up to the individual to determine how you feel about it. How I feel about it is when a team says they did a vetting process, when a team says they vetted Deshaun Watson to see where these civil lawsuits had the potential to go, I'm sure from his camp, and they determined that it was enough, they had enough information to sign what they think is going to be a franchise quarterback to lead them potentially to a Super Bowl and help them win games. And ultimately, that's what the Cleveland Browns were concerned with.
First of all, Marcus, thank you for being on the show today.
Absolutely.
Let me say this, Molly, and I'm going to speak directly to you as well because I know how passionate you are about issues like this. And I'm going to piggyback off of what my man Marcus Spears just articulated by telling you that I support the words that he said 100% because he's right. Marcus Spears is a happily married man. I'm a father of 2 daughters. I've got 4 older sisters. I had the greatest mother that I believe ever lived. And any man, particularly a black man, in terms of our love for women and how we can be when it comes to women. Anytime an issue comes up where you're talking about sexual misconduct, sexual assault, domestic violence and all of that other stuff, for every man that's out there committing an act like that, I can find you at least 10 that's ready to whip his ass. Because we don't play that. It's weak, it's pathetic, there's no excuse for it. People like that should be thrown in jail. That's how we feel. But when we get to the world of sports, particularly as it pertains to a case like this, it's important that everybody understands. At some point in time, because so much has happened, especially after the whole Ray Rice situation came in. Remember, Ray Rice only got 2 games until the video came out.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the world was aghast, right? And so many people said, well, why does it have to take the video? Well, the reason, unfortunately, is because that was evidence.
Yeah.
Because, unfortunately, so many people, men, obviously, because statistics show that men, 85% of the time, 85% of the case, it ain't women against men, it's men against women. So we understand men and the guilt that comes associated with allegations like that are thrown into the fray. The reality is that you have to get to a point where we decipher what's going to be done about it. That's why I came to you with that question earlier in the show, because your passion is well-grounded and well-founded. There is no question that you should feel the way that you feel. For the NFL to have a policy about guys betting on games or deflating footballs and stuff like that, but somehow, some way, this brother ends up getting like $80 million more on top of the contract that was scheduled to just kick in this season. To some people, it's egregious. But we have to pinpoint, we have to do, as far as I'm concerned, we have to do a better job of pinpointing exactly what we're trying to say, because on one hand, we got a Cleveland Browns that's going like this. We ain't win a damn thing since 1964. This dude gonna be playing for somebody.
Yeah.
So either he with us or we gonna have to go against him. And we know what we got to go against him ain't good enough, which is a Baker Mayfield story, which we'll get into later. So here we are with a city that's clamoring for a title since the days of Jim Brown, because they haven't had one since him. What are we gonna do? And especially when 13 other teams, according to his camp, were already pursuing Deshaun Watson. Then you got the league. And you say, okay, what are you going to do? Because you don't have an individual agenda as it pertains to those individual teams. You're the umbrella. You're the overseer, okay? Now, people will bring in business ethics, because there are ethics that are supposed to come associated with business. Except we live in a capitalistic society where ethics, a lot of times we can't find them. We can't find them, okay? And then we take into account, we just watched the Super Bowl with Cincinnati versus Los Angeles, and we saw a league and the sports world and the networks and everybody else bragging about the ratings that they have. So now it gets to a point where you're saying, okay, he's going to play for somebody else. Why not us? The league, what you going to do, even if you suspend it, because you know they did their homework, investigated in terms of how many games do you think he's going to get? Do you think he's going to get a season? Do you think he's going to get 6 games? Do you think he's going to get 8 games? And then you got a contract that basically covers him in the event that he does get suspended. So he's going to be completely covered. In the end, somebody has to stand up and step up and say, as it stands right now, this is what should happen. That way you give someone something definitive to answer for. You either accept it or you refute it. If you had a society that stood up in unison and said you find yourself in a situation like this, you getting a minimum of 8 games. You going for half of the season, right? Then everybody can say yay or nay to it. The problem is it's all in flux. It's all over the place. And the Mollys of the world, and the Kimberlys of the world, and the Swagoos, the Stephen A's, others, you got to stand up and be definitive about specifically what should happen. Because without it, it's vague and it's mobile. It's
too vague.
And that's what the problem is.
And that's why I was saying I wish we had more transparency on how they vetted it. And I also feel like, which I mentioned earlier, that 6 game, it's a joke to have 6 games for sexual assault child abuse, domestic violence. The league needs to revisit that. But one thing I just want to say quickly, Stephen A., because people say, oh, you're so passionate about women's issues. It's not just women's issues. Or, oh, you're a feminist. I am a feminist. I care about women, but I'm a humanist. Guess what? I care about black people. I care about brown people. I care about white people. I've even had people ask before if I was biracial because I care so much about issues involving African American. No, I just have an altruistic heart, and I care about what's right and wrong. I'm Middle Eastern and Mediterranean blood. I don't have that. But so I just want to make that clear. It says, oh, this is involving women, so all of a sudden, Molly's so impacted. No, it's anything where it's right and wrong, where there's injustice, that I take issue. And we have this platform, and I'm going to use my voice in this capacity. But to your point, Stephen A., where I am on it, is we don't have answers. I get that they're not criminal, but they're still civil, and they're serious allegations, and there's 22 of them, and they're from women all over the country. So until they're won or lost, I just think it's a bad look for the league to give him the most money guaranteed ever. When you're talking about Aaron Rodgers got $150 million guaranteed, he got $230. And then what I find more egregious is that the Browns protect him in that first year. So hey, even if you do lose these cases, even if you are found guilty, don't worry, we got you. You still have the $229 million guaranteed. Like, what does that say to women and to those victims? That's a slap in the face. And I understand people could be lied on. And maybe these 22 women lied on him, okay? And if that's the case, and and he loses it, then get your money. I just think this is all a bit too premature. And then the Browns come out 48 hours later with a statement. The NFL should be getting in front of this. It's a bad look.
It's definitely a bad look. But I will say this to you. And Marcus is going to shake his head and kind of laugh at what I'm about to say. And this part is not about Deshaun Watson. This is about the take that you just provided. When it comes to unfairness, it never surprises black people.
Of course.
I can tell you that. It never surprises. I ain't talking about Deshaun Watson. I'm just talking about in general. The kind of things, when we talk about unfairness, when we talk about business ethics, the absence thereof, when we talk about a lot of different things, there's a large segment of our populace that is in black, white, Hispanic, and beyond that's incredibly familiar with it, so much to the point where, unfortunately, you almost become numb to it because it's very, very predictable, particularly when business and money and the bottom line is in the picture. That's unfortunate.
Yes,
so your frustration is palpable, it's meaningful, it matters. But I assure you of something I know you already know. This ain't the first time you've been frustrated, and it damn sure ain't gonna be the last. It's the world we live in, unfortunately.
Yeah, one thing real quick, Marcus, and I want you to get in here. You can close this out. And to your point, when you brought up Ray Rice, until we saw that
video.
That awful video in the elevator, with him and his wife, it brought to my mind the police brutality, right? Uprises, people all of a sudden from all different races start speaking out when we started to see videos, whereas black people are saying this has been going on for hundreds of years, but it's the same thing, needing that video evidence again, and we shouldn't need the video evidence. Marcus?
It's all of the things that we're talking about, and Molly, when you talked about the statement, this is always the tough part as a man when you're sitting on television. Because if I say what you said about the 22 women could be lying, that goes in a different direction, right? And that is the part that's tough when you're trying to have this conversation mixed with what's going on off the field, and then you start talking about what Cleveland. The part that I do agree with you with, and I would want to know, and the problem is what I said when I first started talking. You can try to find that transparency as much as you want to. It won't be there. It won't be there to satisfy the answers that people want. And ultimately, that is what we've seen transpire throughout the course of all of these certain situations that have come throughout the league. So that's why the onus is on the NFL to determine where do they stand on this, how will they approach it? Because Cleveland, if anybody is asking for them to give any more, Cleveland has already told you where they are on the entire situation.
Yeah. Well, then we need the NFL to do better, and I think they can.
You know what? I can tell you a way they will. There's a lot of women out there. Women are very, very powerful consumers. And I'm not saying it's just the women. But what I'm saying is that they pay attention to the bottom line. I keep bringing up the NFL, when Colin Kaepernick sat up there and protested, Each NFL owner, as an aside, got $246 million apiece from their television deal, Molly.
Yeah.
And they were still whining about the projected 10 to 15 to 20% they may have lost. These dudes care about one thing, and that's the bottom line. And as long as those ratings and those numbers remain what they are, we can sit up there and bloviate about change that needs to be made, and we will be appeased. Modifications will take place, but it will never be to the satisfaction of the masses unless their bottom line is impacted. They have shown us that time and time and time again, and either accept it or work diligently to force that change.
Yeah. And I care about one thing, and that's fairness and what is right. And the NFL can do better. And one thing they can certainly do, regardless of this Deshaun Watson, is change that 6-game rule. That should be a quick, fast, and in a hurry.
I think that's a good target.
Quick, fast, and in a hurry. Let's start with.
You can't be suspended for stupidity. I believe in that. Some people deserve to be suspended for stupidity. Finding yourself in a position. No, I mean, you might be innocent, but just because you were stupid enough to find yourself in that position, here's the crime. The NFL could do that. That is true.
All right. I'm being told we have to bump about 80 times, so
Yeah,
I
he's getting on my
apologize.
nerves
I
with those bumps,
apologize
too.
to our producers,
All right,
but it's
go ahead.
important conversation. All right, Marcus Walters, in a move that would reunite him with his college quarterback Derek Carr, our own Rob Domofsky reported the Packers were willing to pay Adams equally to what the Raiders were with his new deal, but Adams preferred to play elsewhere, also adding that Aaron Rodgers was aware of the developments as they unfolded. Now, this goodbye statement from Adams that's raising some eyebrows here. To the city of Green Bay and its fans, putting on the green and gold jersey and competing for you has been one of the greatest honors of my life. From day one, you welcomed a kid from the Bay with open arms and made me and my family feel at home there. I can never repay you for your gratitude, but just know that this city will forever hold a special place in my heart. Marcus Spears, Tim Hasselbeck back here with us. But with this one, I'm going to start with you, Stephen A.
Yeah.
No mention of that bad man in the goodbye. You think that was intentional?
I do. Me personally, how could you be gone and not mention Aaron Rodgers, considering how close they supposedly were? Now, listen, here's my thing, Tim. The only thing I've ever held against Aaron Rodgers was lying about being, immunized, and, he's immunized. But and I don't even care whether he was or not. I'm just saying lying about it. I didn't like that, okay? Outside of that, the only thing I've ever held against him in his career was that damn performance against San Francisco in the divisional playoff game. I know they're a good team. I know it was inclement weather, but it's your weather. It's your home field. It's your turf. You had a bye week. And damn it, it wasn't like they beat you 30-28. You scored 10 points. I mean, come on. So I had a problem with that. Having said all of that, we know Aaron Rodgers is spectacular. He deserved his money. But last time I checked, the National Football League has a hard cap. And so if you're a player, you have every right to go after all the money you can get. And I would never, ever, ever say otherwise, Tim Swagoo. I would never do that. My issue is that you made a lot of noise. And it wasn't just about your money. It was about the culture. It was about management, listening to you. It was about the personnel you had around you. So if you're a quarterback, but you don't save enough money because and that forces them to lose their tight end, their safety or their cornerback or something like that, that's different. But when you're the quarterback, and the person that ends up out the door is the number one receiver, not just your number one receiver, but the number one receiver in the entire NFL. I got an issue with that. Now, they say Green Bay was ready to match the offer that he got from the Raiders. Well, my attitude is if he departed because he was probably frustrated with all the things that led up to it, and how long it took them to ultimately make him that offer. Either way you slice it, Aaron Rodgers' hands aren't totally clean. I'm not saying he's the number one culprit, but they ain't totally clean. And I think Davante Adams not saying anything about Aaron Rodgers gives that indication, in my personal opinion. I don't know. I ain't in Lambeau Field. I don't have no desire to be in Wisconsin. I don't know. It's just what I thought.
I think that he thanked his teammates, okay?
Okay.
And I don't think that Aaron Rodgers needs to be singled out. Like, he's got his cell phone number. He's probably going to see him in person, you know? He can say, hey, loved it, thank you. There is also an element for a receiver that's going to go play with another quarterback. A quarterback, by the way, who he probably thought the world of when he played with him in college. And so, like, heaping on all kinds of love about 12, you're the best, and, you know, made these memories in Green Bay so great. Like, to me, that's overkill. Doesn't need to be done publicly because, yeah, honestly, it doesn't make Derek Carr necessarily feel great about the situation. And I think that Davante Adams, is probably somewhat aware of that, okay? And I would say this. I think we're assuming because these guys aren't playing together that they're somehow that's a bad thing for these guys. And I would disagree with that. Davante Adams is 29 years old, okay? They put the franchise tag on him. He does not want to become a free agent at 30 years old. He would rather get a long-term deal now than play under the franchise tag.
We understand that, but when you make that statement, Tim, nobody's thinking about that last part. We get that part financially. He want a long-term contract. But what you were saying was like, excuse me, Aaron Rodgers not having Davante Adams is not that bad of a thing?
No, it's like from a football perspective, he's losing to Aaron, in Aaron's words, the best player he's ever played with.
Okay.
Okay? So, like, yes, that's significant. But I think that the thing that players want more than being teammates with one another is that guys getting paid.
I agree with that. Okay.
Yeah.
So here's the deal. Guess how? In 8 seasons, Davante Adams has made $61 million playing for the Green Bay Packers. He just got 65 guaranteed from the Raiders. Mm-hmm. This is 2 friends winning the lottery.
There you go. Okay.
So, like,
yeah, can I just add one thing before, because I'm with you, I follow you, I want to get Swag going. But after his Punch of Karma cleanse, Aaron Rodgers did single out and thank Davante Adams. I just wanted to put that out there. When he was feeling grateful, he mentioned Davante Adams. After he cleansed in every way possible. We don't need the visual. Just bring some levity to it. Marcus?
I am open to Davante Adams proving me wrong, but I think you have to have a conscious effort not to mention Aaron Rodgers. And yes, he should have singled him out. They are historical. They have been one of the most prolific tandems in the history of the NFL. He is not just another teammate. And I get it. Like, I understand him going play with Derek Carr. Tim and I talked about this morning. Go and play with Derek Carr, going to the West Coast, more appealing to being in Green Bay. Me and Stephen A. talked about it. The West Coast is a great place to go if you want to, like, end things out and have an opportunity off the field and live that type of lifestyle. But, y'all, we going to really sit here and are we going to really have a conversation that Davante Adams shouldn't have gave a special shout-out to Aaron Rodgers? Are you kidding me? I look at it more than just, I forgot to put Aaron Rodgers in my final farewell. I remember him catching Aaron Rodgers' 400 touchdown pass or something like that, and those guys embracing and hugging. And I remember going over this for the past 2 years, thinking that my mindset was that Aaron Rodgers was communicating all of these things to Davante Adams because of the relationship that they had, because of what was going on with Aaron Rodgers. Davante Adams has a healthy amount of respect for Aaron Rodgers. That's not what I'm trying to get across. But I believe there is some love lost because of all the unknowns that Aaron Rodgers created with that organization and franchise, that if it was a decision for Davante Adams to come back, how could he bet on having Aaron Rodgers on that roster?
I think when we see him not single him out, we say, oh, is he angry with him that he's no longer in Green Bay because Aaron's timeline, Aaron wanted, more money, all of that stuff. I think that most players kind of were on Aaron Rodgers' side with how the situation there was handled with the drafting of Jordan Love and all of that. And so I think Aaron had a lot of support, not just in the locker room, but probably league-wide. So I don't think there's an issue there. And I would just say this. I hear people all the time say, hey, you're a quarterback, you've made a bunch of money, like, hey, do the right thing so you can go sign everyone else. That's not your job. Like, your job is to go, like Aaron Rodgers done, go throw 135 touchdowns in 15 picks over 4 years.
No.
It's your team's job to sign good players, beat the market.
Tim, you're right. I'm not saying that you're wrong, but here's where I'm going to challenge you. You cover the league too well to not know where I'm going. Aaron Rodgers is different. And the reason he's different is because of the specific complaint he made against Green Bay last year before he showed up to training camp. You're absolutely right.
His complaint in which way?
No, when he was talking about Gutekunst.
Yeah.
He was talking about the not being a part of the decision-making process. He was talking about the personnel that he wished he had around him. He wasn't talking about just himself. He wasn't talking about just money. He was talking about an absence of respect that was accorded to him. And so when he brought those things up, we knew the part about his money's a given. The flip side to it is that you got to make sure it wasn't just to have good players or even great players around him. It was to have the guys he wanted.
Yeah, and sometimes that's a guy that's not making any money who's like, hey, I think he's better than that guy.
Okay, I'm just saying that's what he said. So when we look at Adams, because he's the best in the game and how glowingly you spoke of him, the last thing any of us anticipated is that was the one commodity that you would end up being without.
And was it not reported that they were willing to match?
Yes.
Was it not reported that they were willing to match?
It was reported.
Yeah, I had that in the setup. All right, we got to go. Hey, Marcus, great to see you. Great to have you in person. It's been a while. Much more First Take.
Right in front of me. I like
this. Is his brother's chair, though. This is the other Hasselbeck's chair.
That's right.
Yeah, I personally would like them in a better studio.
In the record books, and it is impressive, gentlemen, passing Karl Malone over the weekend, second on the all-time scoring list. So that got us thinking, Big Perk, who's the greatest scorer of all time?
Oh, you know what? LeBron James is top 5, but when I go with the greatest scorer of all time, I'm going with Kevin Durant. And here's why. When you talk about a guy that has 0 flaws offensively, Kevin Durant has everything and more in his offensive arsenal. He has the mid-range. He has the post-up. He has the handle to the hezzy pull-up tray ball. See, here's the difference between KD and everyone else. Yes, he's 6'11", 7 foot, but his jump shot, his efficiency. The other night, he had 38 points on 15 shots, and he does those things on the regular. If Kevin Durant really wanted to, he could have about 10 to 11 scoring titles. Just remember, he sacrificed a lot when he went to Golden State to play with Steph and Clay. But Kevin Durant, when it comes to a guy that gets buckets at an efficient level, has 0 flaws, I'm taking him all day as my greatest scorer of all time.
I don't, and I think that Kevin Durant is one of the greatest. I think that Kevin Durant is one of the greatest scorers in the history of the game, and he could very well go down as the all-time leading scorer in NBA history. But, Uncle Perk, I would tell you that the reason I respectfully disagree, and of course I'm going to call you Uncle Perk from now on, but Uncle Perk, I can tell you, even though I'm older, I can tell you that the reason I feel strongly about this is because of something you just articulated that needs to be highlighted. Kevin Durant could, quote, if he wanted to. So you're talking about ability. I'm talking about mentality. Kevin Durant's ability, as far as I'm concerned, is unrivaled. Jordan wasn't 6'11". Jordan didn't have a 7'6" wingspan. Jordan's a career 32% shooter from three-point range. Back in the day, the game was far more physical, and a lot of stuff was going on in the interior as opposed to folks jacking up three-point shots all over the place the way they do in today's game. So we get that things are different. But Jordan's ability to finish at the basket, Jordan's ability with his mid-range game, Jordan having the aerial assault that he had that was unrivaled, Jordan playing in a far more physical era, etc., still is a career 30-point-per-game scorer who, by the way, played at arguably the most physical time in basketball. So when you look at what he brought to the table, he was still a 49% shooter from the field. And his mentality was that of an assassin. You're talking about Kevin Durant's ability. I'm saying, mentally speaking, he doesn't mind being deferential. I remember when Kyrie and KD first arrived in Brooklyn, and Kyrie pointed out how that's the first time that he was playing with a dude that he had ultra confidence in him taking the last shot instead of Kyrie himself. And they laughed about it all that stuff because we know that KD could finish because he's that elite. He's that lethal. But when you talk about being a scorer, mentality can't be ignored. You got to want it all the time. He wants it in key moments. He doesn't run for the moment. But he doesn't mind being deferential, and I think that's the difference.
No, but Stephen A., what I'm saying is that when he went to Golden State, he really had no choice but to kind of defer and buy into that
I agree
system.
with that.
Right? He had to share the wealth. I'm not saying that he couldn't have took over the team, but he went there to ultimately win the championship. That's what I was talking about. Because KD has the mindset. And listen, this is no knock or disrespect to Russell Westbrook. But if you could win 4 scoring titles playing alongside Russell Westbrook, you're a problem. You are a serious problem when it comes to getting buckets.
I agree with that.
And there's no knock on Russ. We're just talking about Russ and his alpha dog mentality.
Mm-hmm. Right. We know
so
that.
when I look at
Especially back
KD,
then.
and here's my counter to you about Jordan. Jordan was never part of the 50, 40, 90 club. You know why? Because he didn't shoot the tray ball like that.
No, he didn't.
KD does.
But nobody did back then.
Larry Bird was part of it.
But look at the volume. He could do it, but the amount of attempts, if you compare that to guys in today's game, is different because the game was played differently back then. That's all I'm saying.
All right, we got to leave it there.
Okay.
Big Perk, great to have you. And I certainly will be watching LeBron tonight as he returns to Cleveland. And congrats to him on a huge milestone. We'll be back in just a minute. March Madness, let's go. How about Duke surviving a Michigan State scare to send Coach K to his 26th Sweet 16 appearance and his final dance? His young team will face Texas Tech in San Francisco next. So far, Coach K feeling
I love
good.
these kids. You know, they're becoming men, and they're so young. And we were young for a little bit at different times today, and they took advantage of it. And then we were so good in the last part of the game. I can't tell you how proud I am of them because they believe in one another. And then, look, I'm 75. To have moments like that, you got to be kidding me. Really, how damn lucky can you be to be in that? And I want to share it. I don't want to just sit down and say, you guys enjoy it. I want to be in the party a little bit. Yeah, and that's the enjoyment I've had for 47 years, and today was one of the really good days.
Coach K feeling all sorts of great.
Right.
There he is,
What's up,
the
Coach?
one and only Seth Greenberg. Yes,
I need to say something before, Coach. I need to say something before I start asking you a question here. I want to give major props to Juwan Howard in Michigan. Mm-hmm. I'm not talking about the game. I'm talking about a man who made a mistake, and I thought I was scared to death he was going to get fired. I thought he should have got suspended for the rest of the season because I wanted that to be the alternative to him getting fired. For them to play the way that they played was one thing, but for him to embrace that kid for Tennessee and to give him the encouragement and the advice, it was a beautiful scene, emblematic of what the NCAA tournament is all about. So I was very happy to see Juwan Howard on the court, you know, basically being the person we all know him to be.
That's what I was going to say, the character that we all know of.
Yes.
Okay, Coach, 3 words, New Mexico State, okay? So I don't care about the tournament anymore. you already know it. I mean, it's just a joke. It's a joke. I thought it was going to be Arkansas. Arkansas fans came for me, and listen, I deserve it. Can I just, what? Today's a rough day for me.
You lucky you were off.
I know. I know. It was bad. It was bad. No one cares about UConn, though. They care about Duke. Coach, is Duke looking like a Final Four team?
In the last 5 minutes of that game, they showed championship DNA and identity. All season long, we said, will Duke make a commitment on the defensive end? They did that at the end of that game. Would Duke deal with the pressure of Coach K's senior night? They did that at the end of that game. Down 5 minutes to go. You got to get stops to get back in the game. They got stops. You got to play through Paolo Banchero at the end of the game. They played through Banchero. And then I thought Jeremy Roach was terrific. That 3 he knocks down right there was an actually huge moment. But facing their demons, the end of the game, playing through their best players, defending, getting stops, being physical, they showed a championship DNA.
Well, I give them credit where credit is due. They lost to North Carolina in the home finale, Coach K's home finale. They got to the championship game. The ACC lost to Virginia Tech. And I just said, you know what? They're playing for the tournament. Let's see if they show up. But I was definitely suspect. That's the Duke we expected to see weeks ago. So I'll give credit where credit is due. My mind, however, is on St. Peter's. Okay, that's where my mind is, okay? I'm thinking about the boys from New Jersey with a bunch of New Yorkers and New Jerseys on their squad, okay? All right, Shaheen Holloway got these boys balling. I mean, they beat Murray State. I mean, just talk to me about what we're seeing from these dudes. They beat a team that hadn't lost in 3 months. They took them down yesterday. Your thoughts about what we're seeing from St. Peter's?
Stephen A., you hit it right on the money. They're a bunch of city dudes. I mean, Shaheen Holloway's a New York guy. Obviously, he's coaching a bunch of New York and New Jersey guys that have a toughness and an attitude. Like, these two guys don't care about the name of the jersey on the front of the jersey that they're playing against. You know, they'll play this game against Purdue. They'll play it at the Rucker. They'll play it at West 4th Street. They don't care where they're playing. They'll go shirts and skins. They don't care. They don't care about someone's pedigree. You know what they want to do? They just want to hoop. And then when they hoop, you know, they're going to be physical, they're going to be tough, they're going to get up underneath you, they're going to spread the court. Now, look, they have a tough task ahead of them. You don't think Kentucky was a tough task? You don't think Murray State was a tough task? These guys expect to win games because they just really don't care. This is their stage. They're playing on Broadway. They're enjoying every moment of it. And at the end of that game the other day against Murray, they walked off the court like, hey,
we
this
belong
is what
here.
We do. Hey,
y'all surprised.
We ain't.
That's what they did.
Hey, Stephen A., you played in the park where you got to win to stay on.
That's right.
Those dudes right now, hey, you know what? They're winning. They stay on. That's just the way it is. Let's go to West 4th Street. Let's go to the Rucker. Let's go hoop. That's their mindset.
See, that's why Coach is special. He
you get fired up? Language. You ready to go?
Did you see what he said? He said West 4th. He said Rutgers. You understand? He even 135th feet of Harlem. But that's okay. He knows. That's what I'm talking about.
I live on 125th of Riverside. I understand every park in New York City.
There we go. City College, no doubt. St. Nicholas, all of that.
Stephen A's ready for a quick pickup game, you know, in his three-piece suit and his Louboutins and his...
Look at his fancy vest, the big-time vest.
Yeah. Coach, before we let you go real quick, so Stephen A does a Stephen's A list. I don't know if you've ever seen it. And sometimes we have to say to him, you know, Stephen A, go back, revise it. It's usually wrong. There's usually a lot of holes. And we have to correct him, and he reworks it. You know, like when you're back in school, you hand in your paper again to try to get a better grade.
Stephen A's on his shoulder right now.
Yeah. So, little Stephen A, thank God he's not real. Coach, as far as your Final Four, do you need to revise it? Where are you right now?
Yeah, well, I had Kentucky and Iowa. I think I need to revise it.
There we go.
Hey, I'm in the top 90. I'm in the top 97 percentile of the marathon bracket, so I feel pretty good about it. But you know, when you look at it, you know, Kentucky didn't do what they needed to do, so I gotta bop them. That's just the way it is. So I've got Arizona. I've got Gonzaga.
Yes.
I've got UCLA. I've got UCLA.
No, I got Texas Tech. Yeah.
I've got UCLA and I've got Kansas now.
Kansas looked good. Kansas looked good.
Remy Martin, man. Remy Martin's balling. He's a shot creator. He can score. Takes a little pressure off those wing guys.
That was a great game against Colgate.
David McCormick's playing well.
That was a great game. Colgate was a great game. Got to give him credit where credit's due. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Coach, you're the best. You know, do me a favor. Check on Coach Hurley, though. I'm worried about his stress levels.
Believe me, I'll be checking on him sometime this week.
You know?
My stress levels?
Yeah, you can smile all you want to because you're a pro on camera, but you hurt real bad because you can't home like I told you they'd be. That's a different story for another day. We can go on, Coach.
Wait, hold on. Is Trae Young coming to the Garden? I wonder how that's going to go for your Knicks.
I went through a month of depression.
Another loss at Madison Square Garden.
They're my Knicks also. I was there when Willis came out of the tunnel. I'm one of the few people still alive that was there.
Right. Listen, 2 days off weren't enough. Coach, thank you. Coming in hot on a Monday. All right, let's get to the pros. LeBron James continuing to make history in defining his legacy, passing Karl Malone for the second most career points in NBA history in the Lakers' 29-point loss to the Wizards. He now sits just 1,441 points shy of passing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for the most points in NBA history. LeBron took to Instagram to recognize the achievement, saying in part, "I love this game and will do anything for it. I am having a blast." Where's my guy, Kendrick Perkins?
Kendrick Perkins?
Yeah.
What's he doing here?
He always puts a smile on my face.
Well, he's not supposed to be here during the NCAA tournament. He's not supposed to be here.
I'm right here.
We're not supposed to be here. He's not supposed to be bothering me on a Monday morning with the NCAA tournament going on.
He's an NBA champion. Have some respect. Kendrick Perkins, is LeBron underappreciated as a scorer? Because this is one impressive milestone.
You know what, Molly? Stephen A. and I talked about this last week, and we talked about LeBron James moving the goalpost, and I had to rethink things. You know what? For a guy that has 36,000 plus points, we don't give him enough credit. You know why? Because we have a preference. It's almost like people who like to drink, okay? Some people like to drink Hennessy. Some people like to drink Ciroc. But the one thing that they both have in common is that they're going to get you drunk. And I think when we look at scoring-wise, we all have preferences, right? We like to see the between the legs, the crossover, the mid-range pull-up. We like to see the turnarounds over both shoulders. We like to see it all. Hell, Karl Malone made a lot of his buckets off the pick and roll. But at the end of the day, they are buckets. And I think we look at LeBron James, because he's a complete basketball player, because he makes guys around him better, that we take for granted his dominance on how he got those buckets in the paint, you know, before he started shooting this three at a high clip. Yes, he may not be the best free throw shooter, but at the end of the day, he still has 36,000 plus points. And by the time he's finished, he will be the all-time leading scorer in NBA history. So yes, I do think he's underappreciated.
That is ridiculous. But I got to tell you this, man. From now on, I got a new name for Kendrick Perkins.
What?
We gonna call him Uncle Perk. We gonna call him Uncle Perk.
Right?
He sounds like the uncle at the barbecue, man. He sounds just like the uncle at the barbecue, man.
Yeah.
I mean, who would come up with that analogy? At the end of the day, you're still gonna get drunk. I mean, that's only Perk. That's only Perk. It's hilarious. It's just hilarious. Let me tell you this, man. I don't think underappreciated should ever be associated with LeBron James. LeBron James is vastly appreciated. I often say we will miss him when he's gone.
Oh, for sure.
And what I really appreciated when he broke the record and he talked about what it meant to him and what have you, he talked about the responsibility of showing up as often as you possibly can. Because I think today's generation of players, and one of the things I'm guarding against and I'm very protective of, is a player feeling the responsibility to show up. That's why you see me going off on so many people this year, because they missing games. You wouldn't hear me doing that if they're playing. There's plenty of brothers that's playing that they got up nights, they got down nights, they struggling, they're exploding, whatever the case may be. And we'll talk about it on a case-by-case basis. But you don't see me living in it, okay? And the reason why is because they show up. That's why, by the way, as an aside, Kendrick Perkins, Karl Anthony Towns, you listening. My brother, I would never call you classless. I said that particular moment was with the whole Russell Westbrook thing, which Kendrick Perkins disagreed with me to some degree about. I said, but only because you are who you are, Karl Anthony Towns. We know how great you are, and I know how great of a person you are. So don't misconstrue what I was saying. I was just talking about that moment for you because more was expected of you. Because not only is he a star player, but he's also there all the time. Karl Anthony Towns don't miss too many games. And so when you look at it from that perspective, you look at the availability that LeBron focused on. I give him all the credit in the world because he's lived by that. He's been a consummate professional. But what I would tell you is that we're addicted to him playing, scoring 25 to 27 a night, KP. The difference is LeBron is a winner. When you got 4 chips, when you go to 8 straight NBA finals, 10 over the course of your career, it's not that it's underappreciated, it's that it's expected. So in other words, okay, so we know. In other words, think about it. When we talk about LeBron on a game-to-game basis, tell me one time that we show up and go like this. Well, he might not. I hope he scores 20 points. I hope he scores 20. Who says that?
Yeah.
Right. We know. I mean, we're surprised if he doesn't. You see what I'm saying? It's the other things that come with this game. His passing ability, his decision-making, his leadership, and ultimately wins.
Yep.
That's why. He's not underappreciated. It's just that more than scoring is what's expected of him. There's a difference.
Hey, Big Perk, we're up against it here. Yep.
Okay.
I'll give you the last one. Go ahead.
You wasn't here when we talked about Bron. Listen, Bron, stop with the Instagram post talking about, oh, he's not a scorer, because you're the one that painted the picture
Yes.
years ago and said, you didn't want to be labeled as just a scorer. You want to be labeled as a complete basketball player.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what we're giving you credit for. It's not that we're dissing your buckets. It's that you the one that said you wanted to be labeled as a complete player. You said it, not us, not me, not Stephen A., not Molly. You.
One of the great things about Uncle Perk, because that's what we're gonna call it from now on, Uncle
and
Perk.
And Perkisms.
We're gonna call him Uncle Perk. He's the uncle at the barbecue. We're gonna call him Uncle Perk. One of the great things about him is that you'll be hard pressed to find anybody that remembers quotes from players more than him. Uncle Perk, remember, when you say something as a player, now, I mean, ain't nobody got my memory, but when you say something as a player,
you do have an impressive
when you say something as a player, Uncle Perk gonna catch you. He gonna remember.
Perk hangs on to that. Hey, Perk, before we let you go, let me just put a bow on this whole segment. I gotta say, it doesn't look like you've been having Hennessy or Ciroc. Looking very slim, just like your steam room cardio water. So I see you putting in that work. I see you slimming down.
I'm trying
I see you,
Molly.
big fella.
I'm trying.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm keeping it on the low.
Molly.
Keeping it on.
You look good.
I love my brother Perk.
Yeah.
Ain't no way in hell he ever looked slim.
No, I can tell he lost weight. I can
Put
tell.
on your glasses.
No, I can tell. His face is slimmer.
These are Molly's glasses. These are Molly's glasses, y'all.
They look good with your suit. They're multi-lens. Don't get dizzy. Watch out. Formerly known as bifocals. All right, we'll leave it there. Anyway, Perk, take it from me. Who cares what he thinks? More First Take coming up. Deshaun Watson.